especially the ruling by Justice Luka Kimaru, and hail him for the courage. Many people, including myself, who understand the rule of law, who have read the Constitution and appreciate what the Constitution guarantees, had no doubt that is the only ruling that he could make. The law does not allow him any wriggle room. There is no one who can cancel, vitiate, nullify, or purport to withdraw citizenship of a Kenyan by birth. Governments do not give citizenships. The government of Kenya did not vest my citizenship on me. It was vested on me by my mother, who gave birth to me in Miguna village, in Kano Plains, in Kisumu County. It is a God-given right that cannot be withdrawn. That is what these despots usurping power in Nairobi do not understand. So it is not up to them to choose who is a citizen and who is not among the 45 million Kenyans who are born in Kenya. That's number one. Number two, withdrawal of citizenship, if it were to occur, would be a judicial process where the government, despotic or not, would make an application before a court. It is the court of law, a competent court of jurisdiction, that would make that decision, not a bureaucrat. And it would be a process that would be given through legal notice. The person that is to be deported, that person would be given adequate, fair opportunity to respond through counsel, not abducted and detained incommunicado before being forced out of the country. That matter would go before an objective, neutral, legal, judicial tribunal that would make the decision. In this matter, the so-called government have been in flagrant violation of court orders, abducted me and detained me incommunicado illegally, subjected me to cruel and inhumane treatment. Then instead of taking me to court, because originally they had purported to charge me, they said I was a Kenyan. They said I was a Kenyan that conducted an illegal swearing in and claimed that I had assisted in the perpetration of treason. They took me to court. I was supposed to take a plea after 6 days. I was ordered to be taken to the Milimani court by 3 p.m. Instead of doing that, they bundled me into a plane illegally and purported to deport me.
So then this particular statement, Miguna, this particular statement sent by the government, they describe that court ruling by Justice Kimaru as not in the best interest for the country. What do you think that means to you?
Well, it is not up to Kibicho and his despots to decide what is in the best interest of the country. How would my being in Kenya be against the interest of the country? When I was born in the country, I went to school in Kenya, I went to university in Kenya, I was exiled fighting for freedom in 1988 while a Kenyan. I returned to Kenya, I have been living in Kenya, I have property in Kenya, I pay taxes in Kenya, I'm an advocate of the High Court in Kenya, I have no criminal record since I was born anywhere else, including Kenya. I am a lawyer in good standing for 23 years in Canada. How can that be against the national interest? And why should one person or two people or a group of people be the ones deciding what quote-unquote national interest is? A country governed by the rule of law must obey court orders. It is the independent judiciary that should make those factual determinations, not politicians, not partisan bureaucrats, and not despots. So here, Mr. Kibicho is thumbing his nose on a judge that has made more than 7 orders that he has violated. And he's trying to say the gun is supreme over law, that power grabbed by force is more superior to a court of law governed by the Constitution. Let me tell him this. Supremacy vests on the Constitution, not on institutions of state, not on individuals occupying illegitimate power. The supremacy is to the Constitution. Sovereignty is on the people of Kenya, not on bureaucrats.
So then what's your plan? The government now plans to appeal that particular case in court. There's definitely going to be a bit of back and forth for some time. What's your next plan of action as Miguna? Because you seem to be making headlines after headlines in the country currently.
I'm making good headlines because I am going to pursue this legally. If they are governed by the same laws and the same rules, they would want to stay the order. The judge will not grant a stay because you would only be able to prevent me from coming to Kenya if the same judge grants you a stay of proceedings or if the stay is not granted by the Court of Appeal, in which case you would be saying, I proceed as if our illegal deportation is valid. Here, the illegal deportation has been invalidated, has been declared null and void, which means I'm allowed to return to Kenya, provided that they obey the law and return my passport. By the way, the media has been misreporting. They did not. Justice Kimaru did not say revoked passport. The passport cannot be revoked because the passport was acquired legally, issued by the Department of Immigration. So I did not issue the passport myself. I did not print the passport. It was printed by the government of Kenya. So if they are going to obey the law, they would have to let me back into the country as they pursue their appeal. But they must be cognizant of the fact that it is the court of law that they are subjecting themselves to. So the same way Justice Kimaru has ruled, they have to be prepared to obey subsequent rulings, starting with Justice Kimaru's. And I can assure them, there is no valid court, there is no competent judge that will grant an order different from Justice Kimaru's. There is none.
At the beginning of this conversation, you have mentioned a number of names that you think are behind your woes currently. Are we going to see you pursue them individually or as a government as a whole?
I am going to sue all the individuals that have been involved in violating my rights and in abusing me. All of them. I'm going to also sue the government of Kenya. That instruction has already been given and the suits should be filed anytime from now. One of them is Said Deportation, the so-called head of the flying squad. Another one is Njoroge, who is a perennial violator of human rights and has been involved in previous assassinations of human rights workers. The other is Matiang'i and the IG and the so-called head of of Directorate of Criminal Investigation, and of course the Attorney General and others. So this legal process will be initiated soon, and I will sue them for every violation they have committed against me.
Back to Kenya.
You see, yes, I am coming back. It's just a question of when. I have to come back within the purview of the court order. So right now, I'm waiting for compliance by the despots in Nairobi, by the court order. If they are not able to comply with this court order, there is no need for the judiciary. The judiciary would have to down its tools. Because if a government, an illegitimate government, can decide which court orders to obey and which ones to disobey, then we have no basis for having a functioning court. We have no basis for having civil and criminal disputes taken to that court. Because this government has become rogue. We must call it out. We must fight this government until we win. The supremacy of the people will not be subjugated by illegitimate despots in Nairobi.